Book 2, Chapters 1 through 3, Analysis. At this point in the book, Charles Dickens is still setting up the scene, and by setting up the scene, that kind of means that he's still not really telling you anything, and he's only getting the detail, like the actions set up, but he hasn't defined what exactly the plot is. In Chapter 3, we're introduced to a Mr. Jerry Cruncher who works for Townsend's Bank. Immediately, we're kind of given the idea that Jerry Cruncher isn't the nicest guy just because of the idea that he's so angry with his wife right off. It's the first thing that we learn about him is he's yelling at his wife. Then the next thing that we figure out is that he's kind of a little bit of a sneaky, suspicious character in the sense that he has rust on his fingers, and that's not part of his job, is not working with rust. So that's sort of a mysterious activity, as well as the fact that when he wakes up in the morning, his boots are all muddy and dirty, and when he went to bed, they were squeaky clean. So we already know that Jerry Cruncher is not necessarily the best guy around. He gets sent off to Tellson's Bank, and then is told to take a message over to Jarvis Lorry over at the trial of Charles Darnay. Charles Darnay, we're not actually sure exactly what he's done other than the fact that he's been accused of treason, and if he's found guilty of treason, he will be sent off to get quartered, which is a really drastic thing. Where quartering is basically they take this whole thing is described in the book. They take out your intestines and they burn them, and they hang you until you're nearly dead, and then they take you down, they strap you, and then they send the horses flying in different directions. It's really not a fun way to die, but it's back then it was their biggest form of entertainment. So, everyone's sitting there waiting to see what happens in the trial. At the trial, Mr. Charles Darnay, who's a strapping young lad, notices a young lady and her gray-haired father. These two characters are Ms. Minette, or Lucy Minette, and her father, Dr. Minette, who has been making shoes for the past however many years, a very long time. They're both there to testify against Darnay, but end up somehow helping his case. Mr. Darnay, the witnesses also against, the other witnesses in the trial are two men who are supposed to be, making, identifying Charles Darnay as a certain person, but through a weird turn of events, Darnay's lawyer, Stryver, is able to point out that a man, Sidney Carton, looks just like Darnay, which is kind of an odd coincidence, and because of that, they can't truly identify Darnay as the one who committed the treason. Stryver is a really strong-willed man who's kind of just looking to reach for the top, so it's fitting that his name is Stryver. Lastly, the biggest thing that Dickens does is by labeling Chapter 3 a disappointment. It really helps to get across that idea of the time period, that though it's really exciting that Darnay is off and he's not found as being guilty of treason and he's not going to be drawn and quartered, it's a disappointment to the time because everyone was excited to watch this drawing and quartering of Darnay. That's their form of entertainment, and so that helps to gain the reader sort of an insight as to what's going on in this time where the French Revolution is just beginning.